We want to thank everybody for joining the webinar. We'll be getting started right on the hour here with Jennifer Bagley. If you have joined us, if you wouldn't mind muting your line, that would be awesome, because this will be a recorded call. Thank you, Deborah Whedon, for joining us. Welcome to the Ferguson webinar. We're going to give a few more minutes, let everybody join. We want to thank you for taking your time out of your busy day to be spending some time with our CEO, Jennifer Bagley, on some very important Google tips. All right, well, we're going to get started. I want to thank everyone for joining today and spending your time out of your busy day to learn some very important web design trends for HVAC dealers. And Jennifer's going to be today, we're going to be talking some very important items about Google that everyone needs to know, that's going to help you do the right things at the right time for your business. And we do have our CEO, Jennifer Bagley, that has joined us. And Jennifer, I'd like for you to take over the webinar. And Jennifer, I believe if you want to unmute, we are ready to begin the webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for attending. I appreciate you guys. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about a major change that's occurring with Google that everyone needs to know about. For those of you that have been in business and been in the digital space for the last decade or so, I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that Google makes some pretty significant changes as far as volume goes. However, when it comes to major updates, the last extremely significant change that some of you may remember is in 2015 and 16. In our world, it was called Mobile Get-In, and the requirement that was handed down was known to most businesses as responsive design or responsive websites. Initially, when Google first shared this information, it was made as a recommendation, basically stating the majority of the population has adopted something called a smartphone, and they're starting to use this phone more frequently. And so Google wanted to make sure that as consumers started to use these smartphones and tablets, and these sales for these kind of devices outgrew PC sales, and they started using these devices for searches, they wanted to make sure that businesses and their websites responded to the shift in consumer behavior. So they not only rolled out the mobile responsive design, but it's continued to expand over time. Essentially, in 15, you had about a year and a half to respond to basically redesigning and developing your entire website with the new kind of coding structure, a new standard for coding called mobile responsive. Now, you could go back 5 years prior to that when There used to be HTML5 sites, and you'd have actually a separate website that was designed for mobile devices. But responsive design was an entirely different way of coding a website so that it maintained aspect ratio. You could build a website and it would shrink down so that it was able to be viewed easily on a mobile device without having to stretch your screen apart to be able to see the content and information. Now, as the consumers have even further adopted not only mobile devices, but now they're adopting things such as Google Home and Alexa and Siri, which are AI device searches, the requirements are getting more and more stringent. In 2017, Google mentioned a new initiative. This new initiative was referred to as Mobile First. In 2018, in February this year, Google has started re-indexing websites based on this new requirement. This is one of the largest requirements since the 2015 mobile responsive or mobile get-in requirements. Essentially, the way this works is as consumers evolve, that's what drives Google requirements. Google requirements evolves, and companies who adapt those new requirements win. In February, when it announced that it was going to be changing the mobile first index, you'll notice the timelines, you guys, the timelines are shrinking. There used to be pretty significant time in between a major development or change. But as you can see from the timeline, consumers are really adopting new devices and new technologies extremely quick. Why is that important to you? Because as a business owner, you got to be able to meet people where they are. You've got to be able to essentially respond and react to Google's changes in order to be able to reach the very consumers to grow your business, to sell your products and services as well. The Mobile First Initiative, it changes everything from development to optimization to the design of your website. And really it's structured about designing for humans. It's no longer functioning based on traditional advertising where you can create a buyer persona or a target group and you can design a full website that scales backwards into a mobile site. In fact, it's almost completely opposite. We're going to talk through some of the design elements or the most important requirements of the Mobile First Initiative, but essentially what it means is everyone's got to do the same thing they did in 2015 and they have to get a new website. For those of you that are CI Web Group clients, before your heart starts beating real fast, if you guys are already working with CI Web Group, you're signed on to the Ferguson program, you are already going to be receiving this new, website design. We'll already be sharing, redoing your website so that they fit in the structure. For those of you that are not working with CI Web Group, this is going to be something that you really want to make sure that you're aware of. So if your marketing companies have not spoke to you, if your web companies are not talking about the fact that you need this change, then you need to bring it up to them or you need to find another marketing company. It's pretty simple. They've got to be paying attention to this. So when it comes to design, here are some of the major elements of the new requirements. So geometric grid layouts, very important. When you design a website, you want to be careful. Creativity can almost hurt you in this environment. Too much creativity, too much, period, can almost hurt you in this environment. Essentially, you're having to design a website for a mobile phone first, exactly as the initiative describes, and then from that it can expand into a full site. But the mobile first layout is the requirement. That's where it stands first. So using things such as 50-50, one-third, one-third, two-third layouts, and I'll show you examples of these to make it a little easier. Things that can easily be restructured to expand. So remember, in the mobile get-in environment, a responsive site, your site had to be able to shrink. In this environment, your site has to be designed for a mobile phone first and be able to expand. So the predecessor or the priority is a mobile designed site that can expand into a full site. So there's a lot of things that you may be familiar with or you may like about certain websites or designs that are going to have to go to the wayside because of the new requirement. So as I mentioned earlier, design for humans, not for personas and target groups. Modular, white, or blank space is also important. So if you tend to be someone that likes to fill every blank space with something, or you have a really busy website with a tremendous amount of information everywhere, that's going to be something that is difficult or not compliant with the new requirements. Clean and simple user experience, which that's what UX stands for, versus user interface, which is UI. These are two totally different design philosophies. One is UI, user interface, which is like a presentation layer or the front end of a website, versus user experience. Using vivid, bright gradients instead of large images and pictures and so forth throughout the site is going to be important. You can use 3D in order to create extra depth or exaggerated shadows around buttons and call to actions in order to create depth. Animations and movement now become important. So things like parallax, where you have a transition happen within a website. In addition to that, using patterns and texture versus background images. Patterns and texture versus background images. Without being too nerdy, I can take a color like this red, and we can create a 1 pixel by 1 pixel piece of code and make it repeat for a certain number of pixels to the right and to the left. And that's going to only be a really small piece of code that Google has to load versus, or browsers have to load, your phones and your devices have to load, instead of having giant photos and pictures and everything everywhere as well. When consumers arrive at your site, what the initiative is essentially saying is they want you to be tech savvy. They want you to show that you're loved by others, which is the integration of reviews and schematic coding. They want you to be local, which is also structured data and schematic coding, local directories and listings, making sure that you are an authority within your industry, which is essentially content, reviews, social, and search, or SEO. Something that's also important in this environment is it's no longer just about websites. The majority of your major companies have initiated having responsive logos as well. So depending on what kind of device or depending on what kind of application is loading that website, making sure that you have your full-scale logo, a logo maybe without the tagline, a smaller version of it, and then an icon or a favicon that's used on a real small device or in a different kind of environment as well. This is an example, and I'm going to show a bunch of different website examples so that you can get an idea of things that are compliant. You'll notice on this, this is the header area of a website. So this particular section of a website is everything that is seen above the fold. When you arrive at a website, making sure that all of your primary call to actions and navigation is extremely clear, and when this website is loaded on a mobile device, that utilization of buttons, the three-tier, this is called a hamburger code or something that allows you to see where navigation is, having clear and clean icons to get you to other sites such as the social media sites opening in a new window, or getting to a Google review site, making sure phone numbers on all devices are click to call. So you used to be able to have a phone number that was only click to call in a mobile environment, and when it was on your website, it wasn't as big of a deal. Now it's got to be click to call throughout. So everything has to be able to function the same, whether you're looking at it on a PC and a fully extended website, or if you're looking at it on a mobile phone or a tablet or a big large projection screen, or a screen that's opening up in the bathroom of hotel window, which we've seen before as well. When I was speaking of geometric grids, this is a great way to display a lot of content. If you have a lot of services, if you're doing air conditioning, heating, geothermal, plumbing, electrical, refrigeration, ventilation, and so forth, this gives you the ability to showcase a lot of content without it looking like a lot of content. If you can imagine, if this was one container and it had all of this text on here, just scrolling down the page, that's not going to be great for a consumer getting around a home page. Too much text, a lot of scrolling. Whereas here, it just shows the title, an excerpt, and they're in these geometric grids that allow us to be able to scale and drop these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right over each other. So the design is actually created in a ladder format, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on a mobile device first, and then secondarily it's shrinking down, or excuse me, when it expands, those squares are opening up to more of a geometric layout such as this. Other things you'll notice that are important is making sure that at all times you have the ability to contact or be contacted. So you'll notice that this overlay, there's a button at the bottom that will expand if somebody clicks on it, where they can schedule service, request an estimate, apply for a job, submit a web form, or make a call. No matter where they are on the website, this form stays static, and that allows people to easily be able to interact with you. And then, of course, in a full-blown website, that expands out, and they have all those options as well. This can easily be opened and closed on a mobile device. It's very, very clean. And it replaces what you would see on a website. Normally in a website, you're going to want to have your navigation or something at the top that stays static. Well, you can't do that the same on a mobile device. So having it at the bottom, but it stays on the screen where they can always open up the contact information or close it down, is going to be important as well. This gives you another example of this. This is designed in a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 design. So that information is easily able to showcase who you serve, if it's residential, if it's rural, new construction, light commercial, commercial, and so forth, using that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 layout. It also has a grass design as a background with a repeat on the background to make it clear, and each of the buttons on hover have that shadow effect, or have the 3D or the animation effect where they change colors, they kind of pop off the screen, and that makes it easier for mobile devices as well. In addition, this has a chat bot. Chat bots are very important in 2018, and with the new Mobile First initiative, it allows somebody to essentially go to your website and forget all the other stuff, but they can easily start texting or chatting with someone on your customer service or sales team. It's important to know and to remember your clients or potential clients really don't have time to handle their personal chores and business and honey to-do list, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, which a lot of websites have, a lot of companies have as their standard operating hours. Those are work times, right? So if they're at work and they can't place a phone call, they don't want to fill out a form and have you randomly call them whenever it's convenient for you. They want to be able to sit at their desk or take a 2-second break and be able to chat with somebody about an issue that they have, possibly schedule an appointment without it interrupting their life, without it having to reshape, or that without them having to take the time off in order to get these things done. So having an online chat, it's probably something that you guys use on a regular basis. If you don't, you're not trying to sell to yourself, trying to be available to sell to anyone. So this is something, if you don't have a chat system, we've got multiple chat systems available. You can always ask us which ones we recommend. There's a lot of them out there. What I do recommend is that when you install a chat system on your website, you need to man it with your own staff. You want to be careful hiring third-party companies to man your chat stations for you. I haven't heard a lot of great experiences with that, both from the consumer side as well as from the company side. So I would definitely recommend that when you install that you have it on your phone. It needs to be something you can easily carry with you and that all your team can have. You'll get a notification on your phone. It'll be an app that you install on your phone, and anytime somebody's on your website, you also have the ability to say whether you're available or not available. You can have multiple people help. So if you don't have the volume of staff that you need, or have an office manager or a receptionist that's able to sit there, you can manage it on your own, even if there's just a couple of you. Another example from an engagement standpoint, as well as the structure and having these clean lines. For this particular website, all of these images, or excuse me, what it looks like here is an image. This is actually a video, so there's shooting stars. The stars are twinkling. Those are things that will work well on a full-blown device, but will be invisible when it comes to a mobile device. So if you're going to design something that has these large images in the header, or sliders, or videos, what will happen is in a mobile environment, these will disappear. So they'll actually not be coded into the mobile environment. They'll only be coded into the full-blown width website, because you don't want these things taking up the full entire width of your cell phone when somebody lands on there. You want them to immediately get into content, so such as your maintenance plan, a SARE calculator, or financing options, but you want them to get into the things that are most important to them right out of the gate. So all of these give examples of different layouts as far as what something looks like on a mobile device. So you can get an idea of how clean you want these, and get an idea of the kind of call to actions or buttons that need to be used throughout the entire website design. Another way to really expand a mobile device is to utilize 2 columns and utilize video in order to share your message. So obviously people are used to looking at video on a phone. They can expand it to a full width. So each one of these items will take this video, and it'll change the video out depending on which one of these that they want to drill into. And each of those videos is going to show different information. They can expand it, they can shrink it, they can watch it real time on the site, and so forth. Another example of how to use this is a 1/4 by 1/4 by 1/4 by 1/4 design versus a full width design. So having things that are interactive that work on the device, such as a troubleshooter, or having, having this container where we don't have a lot of text defining everything. It's just simply a square, an image. If they hover over it, then it will expand to show the excerpt, and either a call to action button or a read more. Another example of how to be able to showcase content in a mobile environment is to utilize a map as a background, and then to have, for example, your service areas, with each one of these service areas being linked or linkable to another area. For all of the call to actions on your sites, it's really important to try and get people to convert quickly. So what are the things consumers are looking for? They want free estimates, schedule service, request an estimate. They want pricing. They want a home energy audit. They want to get discounts or savings or access to benefits that are not available to the general public. So if you're going to have something like a newsletter on your site, which is going to help increase engagement, you want to keep the forms as extremely short as possible, and you want to give something in exchange for that. So maybe it's to receive special benefits only available to our members, or social media discounts, or in this case, get up to $200 in savings, and so forth. When it comes to the footer of your website, for the design of it, same thing needs to apply. Everything has to be stackable. So when you're looking at it on a small device, your addresses are all clickable, so they can easily map to the specific direction. Any information you have for call to actions has to be able to stack on top of each other so that it can easily be displayed. Mobile first development. So part of that, what I was going over before, is the design piece of it. You guys, in 2015 and 16, when Google made the requirement change for responsive designs, essentially what happened is everyone who did not respond or did not make these changes, when Google said this is a requirement, we are going to re-index websites, there were companies that were doing a significant amount of business. Maybe they ranked on page 1 of Google for the top 100 or so key phrases for their industry in their cities. And when Google made the change, literally their website dropped from page 1 of Google to page 15, 16, 20, 30. And the response we heard from companies who did not make the change was that it felt like someone turned off their phones. The response from the distributors was, what happened to the client's sales? Same thing from the manufacturer standpoint. And it was a significant change that restructured how people were doing business. So it's not something that you want to ignore or wait till the last minute. It's really important that these things are done in advance. All right, so design is covered. Now going into development, these are things that you gotta have. So first and foremost, your website has to be secure. Hosting on a website without HTTPS, that's a no-go anymore. Same thing with having a server that has slow load times, using a GoDaddy server or something where a website is taking a long time to load. That's going to make it so that your website is not able to be pulled or meeting those requirements. Making sure the website is dynamic, it's in a content management system, and that it can shape shift easily. So it was that designing the perfect website was the goal. Now it's more about having a website that can be designed, redesigned, different modules and containers can continue to change on the site as fast as you need them to, without having to hire a designer and a developer to make those things happen. You need to be able to restructure the site quickly as these requirements continue to evolve, because they will. Structured data or schema is critical. I'll go into that in a little bit. Now websites need to have something called accelerated mobile pages, or AMP. This is what's going to strip all of the content, or all of the design and the sidebars and the header and all the stuff that surrounds the content. It's only going to display the content on a mobile device. So that also means that you need to rethink how your content is created. It has to have call to actions designed and embedded into the content, because the things that are on your sidebar are not going to be displayed as well. Reducing embed code and scripts. So those who have a Facebook or a Twitter feed on the front of their website, that's got to go away as well. Your site can't be dependent on a third-party website to load, or at least you want to minimize that as much as possible. Real-time chatbots, which is the chat with me or let's talk that I mentioned earlier, text and email reminders, online scheduling, reviews by location. So reviews on your website by city. These are all going to help with meeting these mobile first requirements. the requirements are so big that WordPress is actually updating as well. So if you've got a WordPress website, WordPress is the largest content management system there is, and WordPress 5.0, also known as Gutenberg, is coming out. Essentially, that means that about 90% of the themes that are available for WordPress will no longer be compatible with this or compatible with the mobile-first environment. So it's taken us, we've been working on developing a new theme, our own updated version of our HVAC theme that is going to work with the WordPress 5.0 environment as well as the mobile first environment. And we've been working on it for about a year. So that's something that's important, is whatever theme you have, that theme needs to change as well. When I mentioned structured data, to give you an example of what that looks like on a search engine, is you're going to notice that it comes with these reviews. Getting reviews on your website in something called a structured data or schema format is going to allow your website to be able to be showcased with those reviews in an environment where you're more likely to get the business or win the business to someone that does not have that. So structured data and schema is part of that requirement. This is an example of what accelerated mobile pages look like, where it strips all of the design elements from around the website. When it displays on a phone, it only displays the content. So as you'll notice here, there's no call to action inside this content. The call to actions are on the sidebar of this website. So this is something that has to be entirely reformatted or redone, is the content within the website has to have those call to actions built into it, which has not had to happen previously with websites. That was not a requirement. That wasn't something that was done. But with AMP, or accelerated mobile pages, essentially everybody's got to be going through their content and building in call to actions within the content. So it has a link that says to sign up for a home performance assessment, click here, or it has a picture or an image embedded in the body of the content versus the sidebar. Speaking of content, that's exactly what has to change. The content on every website has got to be restructured. Having content that's local by city. So if you just have all the cities listed on your site, that's not enough. You've got to have content by city. One of the easiest ways to do that is to have review content by city using a structured data app. Financing and promotions, call to actions, all embedded. All of these things are now things that you have to go back through all of the content on your website and start embedding things that make sense into that text, so that when somebody is pulling up your site on a mobile device, they get to a page that doesn't have all the pretty little buttons from around the sides of the site on it anymore. They still have the ability to click to learn more about financing options or promotions. They can take a poll, do a quiz, maybe an assessment. They can look at comparisons, charts, memes. They can sign up for maintenance, free estimates, schedule repairs. They can troubleshoot their problems. They can get pricing or budgeting or flat rate examples. And these are, well, on a mobile device. So this is sometimes where a lot of people drop off because it's a lot of work. But this is essentially your online store, and your pages are your salespeople, and the content is either just educating them or it's getting people to take action and just showing them to the register to take the next step. So it's got to get done. Very, very important. I'm going to show you, let's see here. Okay, actually, let's skip that. Let's move on to the SEO piece. For search engine optimization, essentially everything that has been done from an SEO standpoint, with the exception of link building activities, has to change. The amount of work that's required for an SEO team just doubled or quadrupled in size. For every meta description on an entire website, the number of allowable characters went from 140 to 360. So that is probably not something you guys have to do at all. or do in-house, but your web companies, you got to have more resources added to it. It's going to take more time, and everything that's been done has to be restructured, essentially. So the switch to mobile first, it's not just because people use cell phones. It's because of these VR devices and intelligent searches. Google Home and Alexa are in people's home. They're using them day in and day out. And now we're to the point where I can interview any audience across the entire nation, which I do over 200 times a year, and ask them, what do you do if you need something? And every consumer says the same thing. Google it. Where do you click when you Google it? Anybody click on the ads? No one raises their hand. Maybe one person who's investing in ads. How many of you click on the maps? Half the room's hands go up. How many of you click on the top 10 on the first page? Everyone's hands go up. It's how people search. It's how people find new products and services. Once they find a website, it either looks good or it doesn't. If it doesn't look good, they keep going. If it does look good, then they're not done yet. They're still going to go check out your reviews. They're going to Google your company name. And the reviews that are showcased on Google Business Listing are either going to make them continue to move forward and actually give you a call or chat with you online or fill out a web form or schedule an appointment, or they're going to keep searching. So having a website that only has one kind of way to communicate, a phone number or a form, not going to work. Having a website that doesn't have an integrated scheduling system, not going to work. Making your website or your company open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, the website's got to be open when people are off work, not just at work. These are all things that are critical. If you have been focused on getting reviews on Yelp and Home Advisor and all these third-party sites, that does not help anymore. The same way that the priorities of getting websites that are built on schematic coding by location on your website, those are priority, and getting your Google Business Listing reviews up, those are all going to help. The pros: content is prioritized above everything else. Now the content on your website is more important technically than the design in a lot of ways. It allows you to create a user experience that favors mobile devices. It decreases the download times of the most important aspects of your website. And it offers a standardized experience on all platforms, which is what Google wants. It wants the function, the layout, how a website renders, to be the same across all platforms when somebody is looking for a service. The cons: it requires a lot of time and effort to develop from scratch. It requires a team that understands the inherent differences of this approach, the new work, the new design methods, the new coding structure, the new content, the new SEO algorithms and requirements. And it's going to take a little more time. So companies are planning for more resources and higher budgets. So for everyone that's part of the Ferguson program, you guys really win. You really win, because this would be a very time-consuming process and expensive if you weren't part of the initiative. So good stuff. In a visual format, this is essentially what this means. This was what the responsive requirement looked like. Is we designed a website first. That website had to shrink down to a tablet and then had to shrink down to a phone. The mobile first initiative is we actually are designing and developing a website for a mobile phone first, and that has the ability to expand. While these look similar, the structure and coding and everything is entirely opposite. Everything is being based on how it works from a mobile environment first versus from a PC environment first. And so it's a big change. It is not a requirement yet. So let me date this video. This is May of 2018. As of right now, it is not a requirement. It is a strong recommendation, and Google is already re-indexing websites. Will it become a requirement? The answer is yes. So instead of waiting until your entire business changes, it's time to go for it now. So this is mission critical for three primary reasons. Number one, because this is Google's initiative. It's not going anywhere but forward. Number two, because this is how consumers search. This is the clients you need to sell your products and services to. This is what they do. And if you don't mirror or meet them where they are, they will keep searching. If you don't meet Google's requirements, it will not rank your website. If you already are on page 1 of Google and these changes are not done, your rank will drop. Someone else will have the opportunity to take over your spot. This is known as graceful degradation, as companies kind of die off online, versus progressive enhancement. So there's nothing you can build on the internet that is not going to need to progressively be enhanced. Continue to be able to adopt and evolve as change occurs from humans first, then Google's evolution, and then, of course, business owners and websites and marketing efforts need to evolve from there. So I recommend you guys, this is, I'd like to introduce you to my dad, Kevin, on the left, and my son, Terrell, on the right. And both of them are on a very scary roller coaster. And I probably have 100 pictures of these two just like this. My father chooses in every environment, regardless of how scary it is or where the camera is, to smile on every single roller coaster. Even if his stomach is in his throat, he smiles. And that's how he looks at these rides. My son is not quite there yet. So he has not made the choice to smile through the tough moments in life yet. At least not a roller coaster, I would say. You guys, you have a huge opportunity right now. So for those businesses who are already ranked on page 1 of Google, already own and occupy those spots, who are not going to make this change because they don't know about it, their web company is not going to make it, they refuse to spend the money because they just got a new website, whatever their issue is, you have a huge opportunity to jump in and take over that real estate. Hey, the internet's a giant shopping mall. And those websites that are right in the front, those are the ones, or those web pages that are right in the front, those are the ones that are going to win the business. And when somebody doesn't keep their real estate, that means the door opens for you. So you have the ability to now take over real estate over the next year as this continues to evolve. You can either sit on the fence and watch it happen, or you can jump in and say, you know what, now's the time to add more content. I want to go after more key phrases. Consumers are looking for new high-efficiency air conditioning system financing in blank. You can use that kind of a search term because mobile rules and AI rules, which means as consumer is speaking to a device, Google, what's the best HVAC company in such and such city with the best reviews online? Those long phrases, if you have the content based on what consumers are looking for, you're going to have an opportunity to win. Now's the time. So real quick, to show you how to get around and to find some additional information, other webinars and PowerPoints that I have done on this, let me show you. You can go to ciwebgroup.com, click on Knowledge Base. Once you get into Knowledge Base, you'll see 12-step roadmap training videos. You can click on this. All right, and you're going to see major updates. Under major updates, there is Google Mobile First Initiative. And there's 4 articles in here now. They have videos that accompany those as well. You can learn more information about it here. And there's other webinars and videos and so forth we have. Or you can always go to Google and do a search. And you're going to see all of the articles that every major tech company is talking about, including Google and the webmaster requirements. official Google Webmaster Central Blog, rolling out mobile first indexing. What indexing means is when Google swoops through all of these websites in a particular area for a particular set of search terms, does an evaluation of the design, the development, the content, the backlinks, the code, the SEO, the reviews, the local listings, the social media, the directory listings, the video channels. When it does a full network review, and a full network review, we call it a digital evaluation, it's going to look at all your assets. How does everything look? And then it's going to make a determination what's going to rank where. So again, this is where you might have a certain group of websites or companies that ranked on page 1 of Google that don't adopt these changes. They're going to be re-ranked and pulled down. And as your website has these things in order, you have an opportunity to move up. Now, it doesn't just mean that your website is the only piece of this. For this particular session, we only have enough time to really go over websites, but just to give you a summary of the next webinar we're going to do very quickly, we're also going to cover all of the rest of the requirements, which are the external things that are most important. So we've covered website from a design, development, content, as well as we've touched on a little bit of SEO. We have conversion tools. We touched on the chat box, online scheduling system, those being important. Local listings we'll cover in the next webinar, reviews, social media, SEO, blogs, email and text marketing tools, pay-per-click video, and apps. All of the elements of the 12-step roadmap are already in full alignment with the Mobile First Initiative. I think we were ahead of the game when it came out. So those who are practicing and following, doing the right things in the right order at the right time, identifying what works to do more of it, what doesn't work, reallocate it to something that does, and what's next. What am I not doing yet that I should be doing? Those are all things that are going to help you as well. With that, you guys, we would love to be able to help if you have questions or if you're ready to take your business to the next level. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Easiest way to do that, just go to ciwebgroup.com, and Clay Howard is your account executive. He works with all of the Ferguson contacts. You can easily reach him by calling the 877 number, 839-1122, or give him an email at clay@ciwebgroup.com. And we'll be happy to help you guys. Thank you so much again for taking time out of your schedule. And we appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next webinar. For everyone that registered, you guys will get a copy of the webinar. So even if you can't make it to a live webinar, please make sure you register. That way we know that you want to get a copy of the recorded version, and you'll have one within a day of registering for that webinar. So thanks again for everyone attending, and we'll see you on the next one.